Okay, so my name's Tommy Sears. I'm the owner of Gobbler Sniper Game Calls. I've been making these calls for about 10, 11 years. I'm not even sure how long now. This is not a how to make mouth calls video or how to make diaphragm calls video. This is just a few little tips that if you're someone that's been making them or thinking maybe you want to pick up or take up making them, just some things that may help you. I've been self-taught throughout the years, and these are a few little tricks that I kind of learned with the experience and want to share them with you. May or may not help you. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just some of the ways that I do it, and I may change it up if you can tell me a better way to do it. So if you see anything I'm doing wrong, just shoot me a message, let me know. I just like to share some thoughts and share some ideas with each other and help each other out. If you're someone just watching this and you want to order some calls, message me on Facebook and I'll hook you up. It's www.facebook.com/Gobbler, Gobbler, .sniper, SNIPER. I also forgot to mention one last thing. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you can. I'm always putting up some turkey hunts. There's a lot of neat stuff on there. And I plan on starting doing a lot more with the YouTube channel. So if you don't care, give this video a like and share it if you want to, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now let's watch it. So one thing is lighting. You never would believe how much lighting can help, especially when you're pressing calls. I bought this light here at Walmart. It's like for doing selfies and blogs and things, in which actually I use it when I'm doing turkey call blogs and things about my calls. But you can angle this little light and you see how much better you can see. Look at without that and with that, how much better it is to see when you're stretching a call. I mean, that's without it. That's with it. I mean, you can see a lot better. So lighting is, to me, as you can see, important. Another thing is, make sure, if you're not already, if you're going to make a lot of calls, make them in steps. Rather than just making one call at a time, stack out so many, whether that be 10, 15, 20 pieces of latex. Stack your latex, then come over here and then stretch them all. Then come back and cut them out, and then tape them, and then tape cut them. So just do it like a factory, because if you do one, what you're doing is you're doing this, picking up your tool to stack your latex, you're putting it down, then you're picking up scissors, and then you're putting them down, and then you're picking, you could save time by doing it in steps. Another thing is, when you're stacking latex, I see some people doing it like on a hard surface, like a table. To me, the hard surface will work, but I just use a board. As you can see, I've been using this board for quite a while. Wonder how many pokes is in there. This board may get hung on the wall when it retires, if it ever does retire, but it's about 8 years old or older. I've been doing these on it, so I use a wooden board. I used to use a phone book when I first started, so just get you something to stack your latex on. Another little trick I learned after pressing calls was, years after starting it, I was always doing it different, and then I would notice every now and then my calls were catching. And what I mean was, they were crimping up here. When I would stretch the latex, they would catch, and I'd have to pull them through. Just pull it until it would come on through, and then come back and re-stretch that call. What was happening is, this adhesive, when you peel that off, was catching my latex when I would push this down. So the fix for that is, and I'm going to try to do this with this phone in my face, so if you hear heavy breathing, I'm right on top of this phone, so sorry. So when you press this side down, I was just flipping this down all the way. And what was happening was, when you were pressing it down all the way, then you would be touching already here. And when you're trying to pull this latex through and it's touching, it's sticking to the adhesive. So you really don't have to press this down, because your frame presses on each side and the back tension. So it really doesn't matter if it's pressed all the way down. So what you do is press it down leave it up just a little bit. Don't press it all the way flat. Leave yourself about a 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch gap. You just have to eyeball it and do it a few times. Press this side. Now what that does is that allows your latex to slide through here without touching your frame and getting on any kind of glue. So let me go ahead and just press this one out. Two little quick tips I do on cutting off your excess latex. Now, we're not going into cuts into the caul because there's so many different ways and so many different... That's something you'll just have to learn on your own. One tip, I use these little scissors I order off Amazon, and I got another pair I liked real good, but they're hard to find. These are titanium, they last a little longer. I use these for my cuts in my caul because you have to get real detailed. I like the smaller scissors. It's kind of harder on your hands, but you can get in there and cut real easy. Latex dulls scissors over time. So what I started doing, and it's easier, is I use a different pair of scissors, a little bit bigger scissors, to cut off my excess latex for 2 reasons. It's easier. You don't got to be as precise here. And then I don't dull my scissors up as fast because I'm cutting all that excess latex off with these. These are like $2 or $3 a pair at Walmart. The other thing, I see a lot of people cutting off latex. And this is just me. I mean, whatever works for you, but this is something you may want to try. I'll see them cut off this side. I can show you. They'll come here and cut this off. And then they'll cut this off. And, this is just watching YouTube videos and things. So they'll cut this off. Then they come back and cut the top strip off, which that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll work. But to me, like I said earlier, the more you're having to let off your hands and you're slowing yourself down by lifting that caul, taking that. It's 3 stages. Do it in 1. And this is just me. Whatever works for you is going to be best. But try this. Hold this caul with your thumb and finger here. In this hand, hold this bottom edge here at the frame. Take your pointer finger and your middle finger and stretch that latex. That way you're using one hand. Cut here, and when you get to the top of that, you'll see it kind of separate. See, watch here. Okay, do you see that? It'll kind of pop, like it'll kind of jerk when you get up there. Then I don't even have to take my hands off the caul. I just stretch it here. Pull it back again. It's still a 3-stage process, but you're not making 3 different cuts, and you're not having to take your hands off and on the caul. So again, I'll show you real quick how much quicker that is. When you're doing it, this is just normal speed. You'll see that little pop. Stretch it again. Now that's going to be something which, doing it with this camera, my face makes me mess up a little bit. But that's going to be something you might like doing it that way. You might like doing it the other way. Whatever works best for you is best. But when I'm cutting them, I don't ever take my hands off this caul. I don't have 3 cuts, I have 1. So to me, that's a lot easier. Try that. See if that works for you. Okay, and I know I said I wasn't going to get into cutting cauls. But I'm not going to really get into different cuts and cutting them, but I wanted to show you something to remember, because when you get old like I am, you can't remember good, then you need all the help you can get. Combo cut. I never could really remember what side was what, especially when I would come back and be making calls after the season had begun. Then you take off making 4 or 5 months and then start back making calls for the season. You don't always remember some things you did 4 months ago. So I would look it up on the internet or look at an old call. But there's a trick to remember what side a reverse combo and a combo cut is. as you're cutting the caul, because of course you're going to cut it this way. Now I'm going to try to do this on the camera. You don't cut the caul from the back. Some people say that this is the front and this is the back, but you're cutting the caul here, right? So with a combo, you start with a V. And I may mess this up, there's a camera in my face. Pretty much everything in turkey caul starts with a V. So you started with a V cut. The way to remember this is as you're cutting the caul, where you're cutting it, R is for reverse. So you cut the right side out of that. That's all you got to remember. If you're doing a reverse combo cut, you would cut this side out. R is for reverse. That lets me know that my left-hand side is a normal combo cut. So, another little quick tip. Sorry about the background noise. Always cut your cuts out before you tape your cauls. I mean, that's my opinion. I see a lot of people taping their cauls and then cut them. Of course, you got something more to hold on to, but to me, you can get in here and be more precise by holding this caul here. But the main thing is, if you mess your cut up, guess what? You ain't wasted a piece of tape. So I always cut all my cauls out and then tape them and then cut them last. That's really not the tip, because a lot of people know that. But a while back, just a little quick thing that may help you. You know, you may be doing it. When I had all this little excess latex from when I would cut cauls out, it's worse when you're doing bat wing cuts, or because it's twice that, because it's the latex that comes out, or when you're doing those modified V cuts or those little bitty pieces, that's when it's really aggravating. So before, I was raking these up in my hand, trying to get them off, and trying to get them out of the way before I'd start, and they'll roll and stick. It's simple, right there. You're going to throw that away anyway. The middle piece to your tape, take it, peel the back off. So you got the sticky back, and you may have to use a couple. Right there. Throw it away. I just learned that on my own. It's just something, little things. You're going to throw that away anyway. Use what you got. The last thing I'm going to show you is how I tape a caul. There's no really wrong way to do this, as long as you can get it and not mess it up. But you'll mess a lot of them up. So I'm going to show you how I do it. This is just how I started doing it, and I've always done it. First, you know, you got to take your centerpiece out. What I do is I like to fold my tape. I've seen people do it different way. I don't know how many different ways, but I'll fold my tape. When I'm folding this tape, I'm not folding it to meet here, because sometimes your tape may mismatch. So I don't fold to meet. I'm not really worried about this as far as folding it in half. What I'm looking for is my middle. You see that section there? That's where I'm getting my half at, because you may fold it back here, but guess what? This may be off. This is where you're really worried about, because this is all going to be cut out. So when I fold it in half, I'm lining this up where my caul is going to sit. So I'll line that up, and then I'll crease it, and then I'll take, and of course I do it a lot faster than this one. I'm not trying to explain it. Peel my back off, and I'll probably mess this up because I'm talking to you. Then I'll take my caul, lay it back down first, the bottom first, and then I'll set it in, and I'm just lining it up with the edge of where that tape is folded. Just kind of pushing it up against that. Then you just push that down, pull your back off. And you don't want to force the top part back, because you're going to get creases. When you get these creases, you can't get them out. You better have to throw it away or just use it as a practice caul. You all know that. I'm sure you've been through it. But what I like to do is kind of go front to back and work it back. Let it fall into place. Don't try to force it down, but just go front to back. You got to line it up with your frame. So kind of line it up where you want it. If you see I'm just letting that fall, and then get it down, and then move your fingers out of the way, and don't push on this just in places, but just come front to back. Now, of course, that's out of line a little bit, but the tape cutter will take care of that. I'll show you. So if you got this out of line on these sides, don't really worry about that. Push your caul down real good. Cut it out. There you go. See, your tape cutter will take care of your out of line here. Sometimes your tape can be off square and cause that too. But just little things. Also, guys, if you're on the fence about getting a tape cutter, I put it off for 3-4 years after when I started making calls. I got up to where I was making $500-600 a year at first for people. I never realized how much time it saves. I don't think I could do this without one now. Now, if you're this person that's going to make 50 to 100 calls a year just for you and your buddies, no, you probably don't need to spend money on a tape cutter. But if you're thinking about making them at all and selling them, and you're going to make 300, 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000 calls a year, you definitely need a tape cutter. I mean, cutting these out with scissors, I was putting a call on it, tracing it, and that was fine. It'll work if you just want them to use. But if you want to make a lot, you don't realize how much time that saves. I mean, I can punch these out. I mean, I can do 50 in probably 5 minutes. So, get you a tape cutter if you're going to make a lot of these.